Hey everyone, this is Coach Marc Nolan, and welcome back to another episode of our North Star Playbook podcast, guiding parents and athletes through the chaos of youth and college sports and bringing clarity. Today's title is going to be called FOBB, or Fear of Being Behind, when real risk turns into bad decisions. So I want to talk today about something I see every single week with families, and it doesn't matter the sport. Doesn't even matter the age. It's not a lack of talent I see. It's not even a lack of effort. It's simply fear. Specifically what I call FOBB, or fear of being behind. FOBB shows up when parents start saying, Coach, everyone else seems like they're ahead of us. We can't afford to wait. What if this is our only window? And suddenly, decisions aren't being made from clarity. They're being made from panic. And this is what FOBB looks like. FOBB usually disguises itself as activity. More camps, more showcases, more rankings, more money spent on gear and private lessons, and more pressure on the athlete. Parents are going to say, we're just trying to give our child every opportunity to succeed. But here's the truth. More activity does not mean better positioning. FOBB convinces families that doing something is better than doing the right thing. And athletes feel it. They stop training to improve and just start performing just to justify the spending that's going on. And this is what I call the false fear versus the real risk. Years ago, fear in recruiting was often what Tony Robbins called false evidence appearing real. Like when I firewalked at him and about 100 brave souls back in New York City back in 1986. But today, let's be honest. The transfer portal is real. As of this morning, in just football alone, since the primary portal has opened, over 3,700 football players have entered the portal, and it seems like it will be a record number this year. NIL is real. And next stop is the high school parents and players. Look, college coaches are choosing the older, physically ready players. It's real. High school athletes getting bypassed is real. And coaches across the board I have interviewed are seeing as many as 30% in their high school athletes not getting those high-end offers that just a few years ago were going to them. They are now going to the older transfer portal athletes. This isn't just imagined fear anymore. This is real risk. But here's where families still get it wrong. Real risk requires better decisions, not faster decisions. FOBB turns real risk into panic. Preparation turns real risk into opportunity. And here's a quick note for coaches out there. Just like you and me, whether you realize it or not, this fear walks into our office every season. It sounds like this. Are we behind? Should we be going to more camps? Should we reclass? Most coaches were never trained to handle these conversations. And here's the hard truth. If a coach doesn't help a family slow down, someone else will help them spend their money. Again, this is a $50 billion a year industry, youth sports. And then I hear one thing a lot from dads. He's a young 16 or young 17. And they say, Coach, my son is just a young 16 or 17. He's got plenty of time. And that may be true. But here's the question I always ask next. Knowing that, when did you decide to help him get bigger, faster, and stronger to close the gap? And most of the time, there's silence. Look, being young isn't the issue. Doing nothing about it is. Age doesn't create readiness, preparation does. Young is not a strategy, preparation is. So let's talk about reclass just for a second and the lens of this, how it looks at FOBB, because this is where FOBB really shows itself. And let me be clear, reclass is not good or bad. It's a tool. But tools used out of fear usually cause damage. Most reclass conversations don't start with development. They start with panic. Parents say, He just need more time. But if nothing changes in training and preparation and honesty and expectations, then reclass is just delaying the same outcome with more pressure and more costs. So here's the real cost of FOBB. Fear of being left behind doesn't just cost money. It costs confidence, it costs joy, it strains the parent-child relationships, and in some cases, it pushes kids completely out of the sport entirely. Most athletes don't quit because they aren't good enough. They quit because they're exhausted from carrying the adult fear. So what's the antidote? The antidote isn't doing less, it's doing better. And clarity over comparison. Preparation is over panic. Honest evaluation over hype, and saying no, KNOW, when needed, is staying the course. Most families don't fail because of talent. They fail because fear replaces patience. So reclass is not a shortcut. And it's not a reset button. It's a decision that needs clarity and not fear. And before I wrap this segment up, I want to leave you with this. Fear of being behind doesn't just show up in training. It shows up in big decisions parents are making and right now. One of the biggest is to reclass or not to reclass. And for some families, it's a smart reset. For others, it's just fear dressed up as a plan. That conversation is too important to rush, so I'm going to break it down next as a follow-up podcast, because once you make that decision, there's no rewind button. And in the next podcast on this reclass or not to reclass, I'll go over what it is to know the difference between strategy and panic. And I'll be bringing up some great true examples of reclass situations that I've been involved in. So until next time, slow it down, prepare the right way, and don't let fear make your decision for you. This is Coach Nolan signing off for now. Have an awesome day, everyone. Take care.